Hey everyone, today let's talk about a JavaScript framework you're going to want to know about. Hono means flame in Japanese, and it lives up to the name. It's a fast 14 kilobyte framework that runs everywhere and has a great developer experience. I'm Carl, and I'll walk you through building an API for it. Let's get going. Let's start with creating a new app using the CLI. So we're going to create a new application. We're going to select Node.js, which is what we're going to use to eventually deploy on the cloud. I have a couple choices here for package managers. It's then going to create a new project which has a few files in it that let's take a look at here. We've got our package.json that basically has our dependencies, our dev dependencies, and includes a way to package our application and start it. Let's next look at the source code that's included. It's just one file. Let's walk through the different imports and then the application. So we see here we are importing a node adapter for the application. Next, we have the Hono framework itself. So we're importing that, and then we're creating a new application here. Our route is very straightforward. Look how simple the code is. We look at the root route, and then we return hello Hono. For serving the application, we are simply using port 3000 by default. Later, we'll look into changing that to run on the cloud. That's all it takes. So now let's look at running this application. And all we need to do is run npm run dev. And then we've got our application running there on port 3000. It's just going to return hello Hono. And we're good to go. Now let's look at building a real application. So let's build an application that manages cars. So whether that's in your garage, at a shop, something like that. I've already built some of this, so I'll walk you through the code. It wasn't a ton of code. So here we have the Hono Cars API. I've got a README and all the information available. If you want to look at that in my repo, I'll provide the information in the video. So let's walk through the code itself here. All right. So there's a couple things we've introduced. I'll take it one step at a time. The first thing is that we're using a Firestore database. It's a serverless database to store documents. A NoSQL approach works very well with Cloud Run. And that's what we're going to use to insert various records for our cars. So here we define a car schema, and we have year, make, model, and VIN, or vehicle identification number. You can see the various forms of validation built in. What we're doing is using Zod and Zod Validator, so a middleware and the Zod framework for that. And we'll look at how we implement that a bit later. So here we have our default route that simply says, hey, you're in the Cars API. It's not actually doing anything yet. Let's show a couple of the routes that we've created here. The first is a post. This is where you create a new car object, and let's look at how this works. We try to add the record to Firestore, and we insert the various components of it, including an ID and the created at date. Great. Now let's look at another route, which is listing all the cars that we have available to us. And it's fairly straightforward here. Just looks at Firestore, performs a query, and returns the record in descending order of when they were created. All right, pretty straightforward. Let's scroll a bit down to the very end here and then look at the serving. One change that I made here is with the port. Notice that we're not using 3000. We're going to look at the environment variable for the port in which the application is running within, the container port, and falling back to 8080. So there we go. That's the application. Now let's look at deploying the app to the cloud. So here we are, gcloud run deploy. I've got my API that I want to deploy. I've got my source code, my region. Actually, let's go ahead and define our region. Export region equals US Central. Perfect. We are going to allow unauthenticated at this moment and have a label to track our deployment. Okay. So let's go ahead and give this a shot. It'll take a moment to deploy. What's really cool about this is notice that there's no Dockerfile. So we're not having to worry about importing from a base image, building all of that. This is where a build pack takes the code, notices that there's a package.json and node files in it, and it's going to help take care of all of that for us and then give us a public URL endpoint. All right, so we've completed the deployment. Now we have a service URL. I'll go ahead and grab that as an environment variable, so I'll be able to use that in the next step here. So what I want to do next is run a curl command. So let's insert a car into our garage. So I will go ahead and paste that in so you can see that it's JSON. We've got a year, make, model, put a Camry in there, and a vehicle identification number. Everything looks valid. Let's go ahead and give that a shot. Fantastic. So we've got a record return. Now let's check that everything's working correctly. I'll go ahead and perform a get operation. And let's see if that works. Fantastic. So everything's working end to end, and we're good to go. Finally, let's try the validation. Let's put an invalid record in there. So I will insert a car that was created in 1800. Oh, well, too old, did not meet the validation. So here you see that working as defined. Let's recap what we just learned. Number 1, building an app with Hono. Number 2, validating user input with type-safe routes. 3, adding middleware for common tasks. Number 4, storing data in a serverless Firestore backend. And finally, number 5, deploying to Cloud Run. If you like this walkthrough, hit like and subscribe for more. See you next time.